I think my favorite part about having the whole universe of characters that you guys don't know about is that whenever I share another character from said universe, I get to watch you guys lose your minds in a different way every single time. So I think you guys are excited to learn about Ash, clearly. So we're just gonna get into it. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well. When I was still developing this universe, like, behind the scenes, and you guys had no idea I was making it, I had a feeling you all would love Ash, but my god, you guys really love Ash. Last month, I talked about Ellie, who is protagonist number 1 of the story. Today we are talking about Ash, who is protagonist number 2, protagonist number 2 of the story, and also is Ellie's younger brother. Just before we get into it, I want to give the usual disclaimer of if you haven't seen my last OC video, I would highly recommend going and watching that one before continuing with this one, because I am going to be talking as if you had seen that video. So I will leave that linked up in the iCard if you haven't checked it out. Go watch that, and then come back over here once you're done. Or not. I can't control what you do, but just know that you'll be kind of confused if you don't. I guess without further ado, here's Ash, my boy, and a boy that you guys seem to very much like. His full name is Ashley Prescott, but I call him Ash. He is 23 years old, he is a man, and he is also very extroverted. If I had to describe him in 3 words, they would be loud, confident, and flirtatious. Very, very flirtatious. And since those are his 3, I guess, main character features, you could say, he kind of comes off as obnoxious. Wanna know what's obnoxious? The word obnoxious. Am I right? Anyways, he can kind of come off as obnoxious to a lot of people who don't know him, and honestly, some people who do know him. So he is very much not like his sister Ellie at all. I guess you could say the base of their personalities, Ellie and Ash, are very different from one another, but that said, he is just as stubborn and just as short-tempered as Ellie. And speaking of Ellie, he's the reason that most of the rest of the cast calls her Ellie. He's called her by the nickname Ellie ever since they were kids, and even though she hates it, it kind of just rubbed off on everyone, so now everybody calls her Ellie. She hates it, and he is absolutely to blame, although is that really a surprise? He is the type of person who gets attached way too easily, not just to people, but also places and things. He gets really attached to things easily, which is sometimes good, but given the way that the plot is in the world and all of that, it's usually a bad thing. But he just has really strong connections to anything he cares remotely about, even a little bit. Another thing that I think is very important that you all know about Ash is that he is very chaotic, which I'm sure you guys probably could have figured out on your own without me just saying it, but absolutely, he is chaotic. Out of everybody in the cast, there are 2 chaotic people. He is 1. And don't worry, I will tell you when the other chaotic person comes up, so I don't just leave you guessing. But yeah, he can be a bit much sometimes, but I love him for it. He is very much the type of person to do things his own way. It doesn't matter the grand scheme of things. It could be something that contributes to the overall arching plot of the story, or it could be just eating breakfast or something. And that said, he has a really hard time not being in charge. He always wants to be like the leader, so to speak. If he's not the one calling the shots, he doesn't want any shots to be called. In terms of his personality, I think that's the gist of it. He's my very loud, very chaotic, very horny on main boy. Hope you like him. But we're going to move on from his general personality to the story, and this is your last chance. If you haven't seen Ellie's video, go watch that. I'll talk about it a little bit more in depth over there, but for anyone who needs a quick refresher, here's a quick summary. They live in a universe where there's 2 realms of existence. That's the best way I could put it. One of them is a non-magical realm, and the other one is a magical realm. Normally, the gates between them are closed and sealed shut, but due to recent events, aka 2 people who were supposed to be guarding the gates failed at their job. The gates in present day are wide open, and the magical realm is seeping into the non-magical realm and are trying to take it over and are just causing all types of mayhem in the non-magical world. So now the guardians who failed to keep the gates shut are now trying to undo their past mistakes. And you probably guessed it by now, Ash is the second guardian who failed at his job, so it's not just Ellie's fault. Thank you, Ash. In the title that I gave Ash's power powers is called the Phoenix. So, very obviously, he has fire powers. And before I get any farther, no, I did not pick his name Ash based off of his fire abilities. I didn't have that in mind when I picked him. I just always really liked the name Ashley for a guy with the nickname Ash. So when I made him, I thought it suited him. So there we go. It's just a funny coincidence that it can also be a fire pun. But he has fire-based powers. And in case you forgot, the powers that he has are directly related to his gem. He is one of two beings born and raised in the non-magical realm with the ability to use magic, and they directly correlate to his gem. But with his gem, he's like supercharged, I guess, and if he were to get in the fight with another magical being, he'd actually be capable of holding his own in a fight, but without it, he's kind of pathetic. In terms of the overall goal of trying to undo their past mistakes, he's a lot more indifferent about the whole thing compared to Ellie. While she really wants to really undo her mistakes and try and seal the gates back up, he has more of a mindset of what's done is done and they should just try and adjust to how the world is now and just focus on surviving. And kind of in a similar note, before the course of the story begins, I guess, he works with 3 other cast members and they kind of work together to do just that. They work together to survive and help out like a small community of people, but their goal as like that smaller unit, basically just survive and adjust. So whenever the story really starts taking course into the direction it heads, it's kind of a big change and like a complete 180 from how he's used to operating. But that said, he is pretty good friends with the rest of the cast aside from Ellie, who he fights with often. We'll get into why a little bit later though. And since he becomes really attached to— oh, hi Zola. Hi there. Can I record audio, please? I'm sorry, is my video boring you? Since he does become very attached to the things that he cares about, he tends to put most things above himself. That includes other people, other people's goals, whatever really. So if it's something he cares enough about, he's more than willing to throw himself under the bus for the sake of someone or something else. And given how easily attached he becomes to other people and other things, he can kind of sell himself short fairly often. I've been sitting here trying to come up with a decent way to transition into the Q&A section of the video, but I can't come up with one, so we're gonna go to the Q&A part now. If you want to be a part of future Q&A sections of these OC videos, I would go follow me over on Instagram. Every single month, I will post a picture of the character that I'll be making a video of. You guys comment any questions you have about them in the comment section, and then after 24 hours, I take that post down and answer some of the questions here. Before we get into your questions, of course, we have the 3 traditional questions. Like most of my characters, he doesn't have a birthday, but as a zodiac sign, in my head, it just makes sense that he's a Leo. Not that I know much about zodiac signs. My knowledge about zodiac signs is very, very, very limited, but for some reason I look at him and I'm just like, ah yes, a Leo. He's got that going for him. Does he prefer ice cream cake or cookie cake? Ice cream cake. Cools him down after using fire magic all day. And use a vine to describe him.
So no head?
Moving on from those, for context, this is how I described him in the Instagram post. Was he always respectful and flirting? Definitely not. A lot has changed. He definitely had to go through some character arcs to get where he is. Will we see that in the story? Who knows? I feel like the answer is obvious because the story would be a lot less interesting otherwise. Does he sometimes wear makeup? Very rarely. If he ever does end up wearing makeup, it's probably because of another character in the story who also may or may not be chaotic person number 2. Does he accept hugs? Absolutely. He is a very physically affectionate person. If he is your friend, expect hugs, or at the very least, he'll just like casually hang himself on you. It's one of the ways he shows his love, just touching you in some way. Do his belts serve a purpose? Not inherently. I have a character in my webcomic I'm working on, Lux. Their belts serve like a very specific purpose for like one side holds a sword and the other side holds throwing knives. Ash's belts, they don't serve a specific purpose. Like they're not specifically made for something, but he will hang things on them if need be. So Bear, you are very distracting right now. She keeps walking in a circle on my lap as I'm trying to record this video. But yeah, if he needs to hold something, he will just hang it on his belt, but they're not for any specific objects. Do his flirts pay off, or is it just cringe? They usually pay off. He can be fairly smooth, but also that said, he's not above being cringy. He's not too good to give a really crap pickup line. Continuing with the flirtatious questions, how would he react if somebody flirted back? He would be pretty unfazed, and he would probably just continuously flirt back and forth with someone. But also that said, despite how flirtatious he is, if it's someone that he's like actually romantically interested in, then all of his knowledge of flirting just goes out the window. So he's good at flirting until someone he's romantically interested in flirts back, and then he doesn't know what to do. Is he on good terms with Ellie? Absolutely not. They fight all the time, and they hate each other, and they do not get along at all. They do sort of work together throughout the course of the story, since the whole plot is them trying to close the gates again, but they're not happy about it. They kind of blame each other for having failed before, and so there is that like underlying resentment. But on a less like deep level, they are both people who want to be in charge and want to do things their own way, so having both of them work together it can be a little difficult. Probably the most asked question, or variations of, people want to know, can you marry him? Is he single? Is he dating anyone? He is single and ready to mingle. And also, many of you want to know his sexuality, totally because you want to date him. That's not me being sarcastic, that was specified in a number of comments. He is pansexual, so there you go. If you exist, he is interested. If he found a wallet, would he give it back or would he keep it for himself? He would give it back. Despite how loud and obnoxious and chaotic he is to most people, and from the outside, he can kind of seem like an unlikable guy to some. He is a nice guy, he has pure intentions. He's just a little much for people to digest sometimes, so can he summon fire or can he only manipulate it? It really depends on the gem. For anyone who needs a little bit of a refresher on the gem, I described it last time as having like a battery. If the battery of the gem is at 100% power, then they can be pretty unstoppable and terrifying, but also due for reasons that aren't quite clear yet, but will become clear probably within the next OC video. It's not exactly practical to have the gem at 100% most of the time. And in fact, it's really rare that the power will be at 100%. So theoretically, if the gem is completely charged, then he could do anything with fire. If there's fire, if you want to know if he could do it, he can. But most of the time, since it isn't, he wouldn't be able to do many things. So he would be able to summon fire and kind of create fire out of nothing as the gem is more highly charged. But as like the battery is lower and lower, it changes from him being able to like create it to just manipulating it and stuff like that. And I gave examples of what Ellie is like without her gem, so I guess a good example of Ash without his gem. He would be able to very weakly manipulate fire, but it would get out of his control really easily. And also he's kind of able to control his body temperature just a little bit. With his gem, it becomes a lot easier, but without it, he can kind of like, he could heat his hand up to be like hotter or something, but not a whole lot, just a little bit. What is his height? None of the characters in this story have exact heights, but he is roughly 5'7", 5'8", around that height. Normally I convert it into centimeters before recording audio, but I didn't this time for some reason, so I'll put that on screen to save you guys some time. What is the thing he's most proud of? It's the work that he does with his 3 friends. There are 6 characters in total in this story. I guess if we were to split them up into, I guess, Team Ellie and Team Ash, there's Ellie and then one other character under Team Ellie, and then the rest are Ash's little group. But the 4 of them are working together and sort of protecting their own little community. He's very proud of like the things that they've accomplished together. How would he react if somebody was upset? He would try to comfort them, but he's not very good at it. He's not that great at comforting people, but he is very good at like keeping an uplifting atmosphere, I guess. He's great at keeping the good vibes going. But that said, if somebody's upset, it's still his instinct to try and comfort them despite not being good at it, so you can imagine how all of that works out for him. And lastly, the most important question, is he a your daughter calls me daddy too type of person? He absolutely is, but also absolutely would be calling somebody else daddy. Get you a man who can do both, am I right? With that out of the way, there is Ash. I hope you enjoyed. Practically everyone thought that Ellie was hot, and also practically everyone thought Ash was hot. And I have a feeling that's gonna be a trend for all of these characters, except maybe the next one, but also probably there's still gonna be some people who think that they're hot, so stay tuned for that, I guess. But that's all of the questions I have about Ash, so that was fun. I was gonna say you guys had a lot of fun questions for Ash, but half the questions were asking if he was single or if you could marry him. Everyone was like, attractive. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about Ash. I was really excited to share him. I love making characters like him where they're just kind of obnoxious and a lot, so I'm really happy that I get to share that character in the story, so let me know your thoughts about him. And if you have any other questions about him, feel free to ask them in the comments down below. I won't answer any questions that are spoilery for their story, but I will do my best to answer them within a certain period of time, so feel free to head on down to the comments. And I think that's all I have for this video, so if you liked it, give this video a thumbs up, and give it a thumbs up if you're excited to continue learning about this story. I'm very excited to keep sharing it with you guys. And if you are new here, hello, my name is Oliver. I make a lot of art on this channel, clearly. I talk a lot about my own original characters and my own stories, clearly. But this isn't all I do. I have a lot of fun with art on this channel, so if you wanna stick around, I'd appreciate it. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you over here. If you want to see more from me, you can follow me on social media. Those will be shown on screen now and linked in the description box below. And if you want to watch some more of my videos, that'd be pretty cool. There will be some on screen now and linked in the iCard for you to check out if you want. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.